Media success. He has a whopping 3 million followers and over 100 million views. With over 2 decades experience, David has built the world's most influential talks on PowerPoint, storytelling, and delivery skills, perfecting the art of presentations and impacting millions. Get ready to master the art of presentations, craft unbeatable speeches, and elevate your business.
Are you ready? Here we go. Hello! Excellent to see you all, and welcome to Sweden. Welcome to Västerås. It's not where they recorded Game of Thrones, but there's some Game of Thrones things going on here now and then, anyhow. So cool to see you all. Beautiful. Where are you all from? I've seen that some of you put down places, but I'd love to see more of them. So just go, like, how many countries are we reaching currently? Where are you from? Zurich, Vaxholm, Germany, Hungary, Spain, London, UK, Malta, India, UK, Scotland, India, Netherlands, Sweden, Netherlands again, Scotland again, Sweden, Uppsala, the UK from Ian. Hello, Ian. Good to see you again. And Louis, good to see you from Malta as well. This is beautiful. All right. Welcome to the biochemistry of webinars. Now, what is special about this particular, webinar is that it's because you're here, because you care, right? Have you ever seen the triangle of psychological behavior, where you can always see that sharing with other people is at the top? So irrespective of which model you look at, sharing is always at the top. The reason you're here is because you want to build better content, you want to build webinars which reaches more people. You want to share with others. Can this be correct? Is this correct? You want to teach others things, you want to teach others, you want to learn, you want to share, right? Yes? Can I see hands up? I can see you all there. All right, brilliant. If we had a camera from here, you would see faces all over this wall. So I can see Roger calling in there. Nice, lovely glasses, my man. Roger Söderqvist, good one there. All right, Florian, I can see you as well. Good to see you back. Magnus, awesome angle on your camera. I love that. Good smile there, Zoltan, Zurich. Good stuff. All right, so what is the biochemistry of webinars about? Well, I want to put it like this. In the book that was in the trailer, which is now being translated into 34 languages, there's a metaphor which goes the angels and the devil's cocktail. And this is absolute key for all content, all webinars and presentations. So I'd like to offer you all a devil's cocktail. So listen attentively to this. A devil's cocktail is a dose of adrenaline, a chronic dose of cortisol,
sind die Lohnabrechnungen der letzten 12 Monate.
A reduction of dopamine, and a reduction of oxytocin. If I give that for you to drink, metaphorically, from a biochemical perspective, you would stop taking decisions, or your decisions would be worse. Your perspective would be quite tunneled. You wouldn't be very self-appreciative. You wouldn't give compliments to other people. You wouldn't feel love in the same way that you normally feel love. You would be quite negative in your thinking. That is a devil's cocktail based on those neurosubstances. You wouldn't be very driven. Yeah, that's you that day. So let me give you an angel's cocktail instead, where we know from a biochemical perspective that a dose of dopamine, a dose of oxytocin, a dose of serotonin, noradrenaline, and testosterone will make you into a very different individual. You will be more risk-taking. You will take better decisions. You will be more driven. You will be more including. You will be more caring. So my question to all of you here today, I think it looks like we're about 1,000 people coming in from various kinds of streams. Tell me this. Can you relate to that you in life, sometimes you've drank a devil's cocktail and sometimes you've drank an angel's cocktail? Yes or no? Absolutely. But where did it come from? You didn't go to the fridge. You didn't open that up. You didn't go, I'm going to mess this day up. I'm going to consume a devil's cocktail. It's going to be a bad day. You didn't do that, did you? So where did it come from? And an even more interesting question is, how many angel cocktail days do you have per year? How many? Answer that honestly to yourself. Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 150? Does it vary? Does Roger have more than Vicky? Does Bruno have more than Johan? Does Lisa have more than Christine? Maybe. The key here is that who decides this? Who decides this? You, right? Nobody else decides this. You're pointing at yourself. You decide how many angel cocktails days you should have per year. Now, the next interesting question is this. Who do you think buys from you? When you do a webinar in the hopes of selling your product and your service, who buys from you? The people on a devil's cocktail or an angel's cocktail? More likely, it'll be the person on an angel's cocktail who are driven, who has this desire to grow, right? So you have two options. Either you only invite people with an angel's cocktail to your webinars. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Like, you go into Google ads or Facebook ads, and you just go like, nah, I just want angel cocktail people to come to my webinars. Cool, yes, I'll do that. I don't think that is an option. So I think option 2 is the only possibility. And that is that you, in your webinar, you create an angel's cocktail, which is entirely possible. So what I'd like to give you in this talk today, I want to give you, I need to use 2 hands for this, 10 techniques on how you can create an angel's cocktail in somebody else. So after this 1 hour, you will have 10 concrete ideas on how to create dopamine, serotonin, noradrenaline, and testosterone in another human being. How does that sound? Would that be valuable to you? Can I just have that in the chat? Would that be valuable? Amazing. Yes, some energy. Love it, yes. Do please interact as much as possible. The thing with webinars is that if you're good at delivering webinars and your product that you sell in your webinar is good, you can buy one of those. That is the most beautiful ship I have ever seen. I lived in Malta for 2 years. This one day I was walking by the harbor and this boat was in the harbor. It's called the Maltese Falcon. It is the biggest sailing ship in the world. This one can be steered by one single person. And it was more beautiful than anything I've ever seen boat-wise. The market for webinars, do you know how big that is currently? It is estimated to being valued at $3 billion US. So there are plenty of people who can buy one of those without being a doctor, without being a lawyer, without earning that kind of big money. I don't know if you've understood this, but there has never been any other sales tool in the history of mankind where one single person can reach out to people all around the world and sell their product and service as it is today. None. There's never been. Now, we have had social media, but that is static. A webinar with a dialogue is different. So it's an incredible time to do this. And just, I guess, to give you some more inspiration, this webinar that we've been doing called Presenter Mastery has so far, this first year, because we've only been running it 1 year, been turning over $2 million US. So that's a lot of money in this 1 year. But again, the product is so valuable, so that's why you can grow that. So the first thing I want to ask yourself is this: is your product valuable enough? Because if it's not, you have to work on the product before you work on your webinar. Because when they get to the product, obviously the process goes like this. A person looks at the ad, and the ad leads to a webinar, and the webinar leads to the actual course. Now, I would say that one of my most successful webinars is this one, which is my first TED Talk. It was built specifically from a sales perspective. So if you ever get the opportunity of building a TED Talk, please look at it as the opportunity of selling your products. This one was built specifically according to that. And this TED Talk is responsible for around $3 million in revenue. So I think I've been booked for about 500 talks just based on this. My key thing is, and I think you should leave now if you don't agree with me, and that is, in a webinar like this one with me, the key is to deliver value. The key is to deliver value. There are so many people that say, don't do that in a webinar. Just make them feel something and they will buy. I don't believe in that. I have always believed in the idea of giving value. And that is why at the end of this training, you will have all of these 10 techniques, which I know will translate into you earning more money, becoming more popular, gaining more attention. Would you agree? Is that the case? Is value important? Nod away if that's the case. I can see you all. Absolutely magnificent beard, Bruno, by the way. That beard, God, people would pay a fortune to see that. I don't know if you all can see Bruno's beard, but man, that is something special. All right. What did I do with my money? Well, I bought the JP Manor. So that's we can bring that up in full screen. It's a beautiful manor in the midst of Sweden. If you're ever around, do come knocking and I'll treat you to some coffee. I like cars, so I bought a Porsche Taycan. Bring that up. This one, we need to see this in full screen, Marcus. That is the best car money can buy. You know, if you have that money, buy that thing. If you get a lot of money from your webinar, go buy a Taycan. They're the best. This is also super cool. I loved having this, but it scared the shit out of me, so I went back to the Taycan. But I want to say this. All of this I've been able to buy stuff I've just been dreaming of as a kid, of course. But you know, at the end of the day, none of that matters. This is what matters. Bring that up. This is my son, Tristan. I love him to bits. He's leaving for Switzerland in 2 weeks to become a Michelin chef. He's doing a training there. I'm so proud of him, but I freaking cry myself to sleep every single night at the moment because I will miss him so much. This is my daughter, Leona. Why I'm showing you these images is because at the end of the day, this is the most valuable thing that money can buy for me, which is freedom. I don't know if you agree with that, but freedom is just the next extension of what money can buy. Stuff is fun, but freedom is invaluable. Then the question comes to this, and that is, how many succeed in their webinars? Before we go into the techniques, have a look at these numbers. Bring them up, Marcus. These are some interesting numbers. 95% of marketeers believe webinars are key. In 2020, webinars had a top revenue estimate of $1.57 billion. In 2025, it is believed that webinars will be the fastest growing marketing tool, turning over $4.44 billion. However, 20% of businesses fail within the first year. 49.7% fail within their first 5 years. And in ClickFunnels, which is the biggest tool for funnels, there are 100,000 active users. But listen to this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Only 2.3% earn more than 1 million. That's not a lot. And that is the primary tool for webinars. So it's a small amount of people earning a lot of money whilst the others are not. Why not? Why do most people end up with one of these? Right? Why do most people end up with one of these when doing webinars? Well, I believe that too many people listen to too many people on Instagram and TikTok. They hear one person saying something and then they do that. I'm saying this, don't believe in what I say. Don't believe in what they say. Believe in what they can prove. That's key. Don't listen to one single person on Instagram and you go like, I'm going to do that. Figure out if what they're actually saying has actually made a difference. Because when looking at people on social media talking about webinars, I would estimate that the absolute majority have not accomplished what they're saying that they've accomplished when you look into the data. So therefore, don't listen to me, don't listen to them, look at the results that they've created. In my case, we're averaging, I think, 15 million views on the TED Talks. Obviously, what we do works at that end of the day. Who else can we ask? Who else can we ask who knows how we create an outstanding webinar? I would like to do a drum roll now because I have the answer to you, but it will be the most boring answer you've ever heard in your entire life. Your hairs will go gray in in a split second. I'm going to show you the best resource in the world for webinars. Are you ready? Bum, 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 bum. Full screen on this, Marcus, because this is going to be amazing. All right, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Boom. Oh my God, that is boring. What on earth is that? This, my friends, is the greatest database in the world collecting scientific articles on how the brain works. This is PubMed. You need to become addicted to PubMed. PubMed rocks. This is science, and when you look at PubMed, you can find 3,000 articles, studies, which relate directly to how to do a webinar. That's how powerful it is. That is not listening to one person saying one thing on Instagram. That is not listening to 10 people in a conference saying the same thing. That is looking at scientific results from studies, sometimes of 10,000s of people. And the difference between listening to one person and looking at studies, I hope you understand that that is fundamental. You do understand that there are some people looking at Instagram who literally believe the people who say that the earth is flat, right? There is. But if you head to PubMed, for sure, you'll see that people are fairly disagreeing on that fact. Don't listen to the face value, listen to the science. That is why this is called the biochemistry of webinars. Again, don't listen to what I say, listen to what I show you, listen to what I do that makes you feel something. Look at the proof I give you along the way. So the first thing I want you to take with you and learn is this. Grab a pen and paper, by the way. If you don't have a pen and paper, if you don't have anything to write on, you are wasting your time. So see that you are going to make notes, write these 10 things down. When you've written them down and you don't need them anymore, you can just cross them over. But see that you've written them down so you can collectively look at the skills that you've gained from this webinar. All right. So we need to just get this basic understanding of how the brain works. And in order to do that, we need to take you back 25,000 years in time. 25,000 years in time, an ancestor of yours was waking up in the morning. Your ancestor had a rumbling tummy because, in this case, it would have been my grandfather or something like that, times 1,000 times 500, was hungry. So the rumbling in the tummy was due to hunger. Now the mechanism in the brain then goes like this. As soon as that rumbling starts happening, cortisol is produced. Cortisol is produced to get this ancestor moving, looking for food. Cortisol makes you move. Cortisol is part of the nervousness response when delivering a presentation or a webinar. How many times have you seen a nervous presenter pace on stage? How many times? How many times have you heard a nervous person speaking too fast? How many times? Thousands. Why? Because cortisol makes us move on stage, makes us speak quickly, makes us get out of bed and look for food. So, your grandfather gets up and goes, okay, rumbling in the tummy, this is painful, we need to get food. However, outside he can hear it's a hailstorm, it's horrible weather. So now he's comparing that pain to this pain. And the hail wins at the moment. He's not hungry enough yet, so he stays there. But then just 10 minutes after that, and this is key, listen to this. Just 10 minutes after that, he realizes that the wild apples are ripe. The wild apples are ripe. It's about 1 kilometer away. He will need to walk through the hailstorm to get hold of the wild apples. If he doesn't, they will be destroyed. Suddenly, a different substance is created. It is called dopamine. Dopamine is a neurosubstance, and write this down. It is anticipation of reward. So the person, your grandfather, visualizes the apple in his head. And just visualizing that brings out dopamine, which makes him want to move out of the hut, 1 kilometer of hailstorm, to pick the apple and take a big chew out of it. So see that you have this written down. There are two driving forces in life. Cortisol i.e. the pain to make you move. And number 2, the pleasure of achieving something at the end. So pain and pleasure. You've heard this so many times before. I don't think you've had it explained to you in this way before. So moving anyone in a webinar is about finding their pain points and introducing them to the pleasures and the possibility of your product. So whatever product you have, define the pain points, define the pleasurable points, and then see to them that they're weighed equally. I'm going to put the apple away. Rumbling in tummy is not hunger. Go check PubMed. Yeah, that is true. I'm simplifying that, Celine. It is obviously the third process from hunger where cortisol will be produced. Rumbling in the tummy is the emptiness of the tummy, for instance. It's part of the process, but there's about 10 different steps in the rumbling of a tummy. And I think also, Christian, that you have high cortisol levels at the moment. That is, I don't know where you're at, man. Maybe you're sitting on a train looking at this webinar. God knows why you have high levels of cortisol. Just relax, lean back, and we'll be okay. So the question then is this. If emotions are driving forces, the emotions of pain, the emotions of pleasure, the question is, what is an emotion? Because the fact is this, that all your decisions in your life is driven by emotions. Logic is not a driving force. I want to say that again, so you understand that clearly. Every single decision you take in your life, every single one, is driven by an emotion, not logic. Logic is used to choose which of the emotions you want to choose, but the emotion is the driving force. Considering this is true for humans, can you answer me this question? What is an emotion? Right? What is an emotion? Because if it's the key critical point of all selling, what is it? It's a chemical reaction. That is true, David. Energy in motion, Ingrid. This is going to sound very complicated, so bear with me. But it's the concentration of a combination of substances in a particular location of the brain, creating a particular frequency in the brain, which is the closest answer to what an emotion is. So let's have a look at what happens if dopamine is increased in the mesolimbic nervous system. So dopamine has 4 nervous systems. The one that we're going to have a look at is the mesolimbic one. What happens when dopamine is released in that? Well, it comes down to what I just said about the apple. It is the anticipation of reward. It drives things like motivation, drive, and desire. So I'll put it simply like this. If you're standing in front of an audience and speaking, and people start yawning, people start, going, I don't want to focus, can't do this, it's too many slides. Have you ever been in a presentation and you've seen at the corner of your PowerPoint, it's like 67 out of 97 slides, and you're like, I can't take it, don't give me any more. Their brains are literally going, give me dopamine, give me dopamine, give me dopamine, I need dopamine, man. What is their solution? They start daydreaming. That's one way to create dopamine. They start thinking about things, drawing things, but a lot of people do this, right? Under the corner of the table, they bring up their mobile phone and then they go, oh yeah, oh that's good, oh yeah. Thank you for the dopamine. I'm going to check LinkedIn, I'm going to check email just one more time. They give themselves dopamine. I went to this conference once. The speaker was at the front speaking, and there was 500 people listening, and it was a reversed rock concert. Think about that. It was a reversed rock concert. Because normally in a rock concert, you go like this, don't you, with a shiny phone. Reverse rock concert is 500 people looking at their phones while there's one person speaking. So it was reversed, right? And the same thing goes with your webinars. If people start logging out of your webinar, it's because you're not creating dopamine, i.e. value, motivation, drive, and desire. So the question is then, how do we create dopamine? Write these down. I'm going to show you 4 tools for dopamine. The first one is called the major why. And that is, why are you here? Why are you here? Stacy, Vicky, Christian, Mark, Bruno, why are you here? If I can't explain that to you, you'll leave. That's as simple as that. Get rich fast, Celine. Yeah, there we are. There's no way to get rich fast, Celine, but give it a year, boom, you'll get there, to learn from the master. So, what did I say in the beginning? What did I say in the beginning, which was the major why? Do you remember? Can you recall, like, what part of the structure was that? It was when I said, and I put that like that, and I said, I'm going to give you 10 techniques that I assure you will make an impact and create an angel's cocktail in the person that you're speaking to. That was the major why. So in the beginning of your webinar, define a major why which you know that they will want. Okay? That will create a large dose of dopamine. Will this last for 60 minutes? No. So you need minor whys. What are minor whys? They should be added every single time you change subject. Every single time you take a new path, right? Every time you show a new slide, there should be a minor why. Have you ever heard anyone launch a slide like this? Listen to this. And then they go, click, and then they go, oh yeah, this one. We should have skipped this one. You can't really see what it says, but you know, in the corner. Have you ever heard anyone launch a slide like that? Like always, Lisa. That is stealing dopamine from people and just shoving it down the well. Listen to this instead, and please copy me when you do this in the future. Before even showing the slide, you say this. The next slide coming up is my personal favorite. It summarizes everything we've gone through so beautifully. It's almost like PowerPoint poetry. I put 1 week into this single slide. Oh my God, it's going to blow your minds. And then you open it up. This time, it's the same shitty slide as last time. But this time they'll go, well, that's good actually. I like that. That's good. It makes sense. It makes sense. You can't do that for every slide. You can't go like, this is my personal favorite, because then people will hang you, shoot you, and drag you out. But you can add other kinds of minor whys before every slide. Please start using that. And then finally, we have what is called micro whys. What are they? Micro whys, I'll just give you 2 tips on that. Micro whys are pauses, for instance. So when you say something like, the next thing I want to show you is exciting. Look at this. And the pause builds dopamine. Another way to do it is climax. Listen to this. The next thing I'm going to show you is pretty amazing. It's incredible. It's going to be something that can really make a difference for you. Let's have a look at what that looks like. That also builds dopamine. So you can use it by climax or pauses. Haritosh, yes, I tried to clarify that. You cannot say, this is my personal favorite. People will shoot you, drag you out, and hang you if you say that over and over again. It's going to be horrible. So, different ways of creating the minor whys in your slides. Can you do a minor why again, David, to David? Well, the minor why for a slide is, for instance, let's have a look at the next slide. It is my personal favorite. And then you bring it up. That's a minor why, just one example of many. Okay, David? The final thing I want to give you in dopamine is storytelling. Storytelling. I have an 18-minute TED Talk on storytelling. It is the biggest TED Talk in the world on storytelling. Please have a look at it. It's mind-blowingly great, again. It truly shows you why storytelling is important. But I want to just wake you up in regards to how important it is. I'd like you to write in the chat how many stories you've told today. Thank you, Haritosh. Thank you, Wolfram. Write in the chat how many stories have you told today. 0, 4, 2, 6, none yet. 10, 2, 3, 5, 100 from Kamal. That is a storyteller. We have 4, 19, 5, a couple, not sure. 0, 3, 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 10, 0, 400 from Martin. Listen to this, because this will be an epiphany to you. I did not ask you how many stories have you told others, did I? That's what you answered, most of you. I asked you how many stories have you told today? That includes the stories you've told yourself, yes? So the question then is, how many stories have you told to yourself today? Well, in our time zone is 12:30. You have literally told 500, thousands. Yes, every time you go to the toilet, you simulate a story. When you're out driving, I hope to God. I think you're driving, Nina. Anyhow, yes, well, that's brilliant that you got the phone just on the side. That's entirely legal and perfectly okay. But I hope, Nina, for God, simulating stories in your overtaking, because you're going like, if I overtake here, I die. If I overtake over there, I will survive, right? So you see your entire life based on stories, my friend, your entire life. And so does the people you speak to. When you do a webinar, they don't see data, they don't see stats, they don't see charts in here. They translate everything you say into stories. As soon as I did the sell the slide, there were so many of you picturing yourself doing that, right? How many of you did that? How many of you pictured yourself selling a slide like that in your next presentation? So all of you, because you told an internal story. Therefore, storytelling is absolute key, because it's the way we see the world. So, thank you, Glenn. That is beautiful. Thank you. I love involving. I think it's a big part of it. So let's have a look at the last thing when it comes to dopamine, which is this. What is your apple, my friend? What is your apple? Because it's such a key thing to answer in life. What is your apple? I'll ask you a different question which clarifies it a bit. And it goes like this. Who's going to get rich? Take me back. And I want you to picture this. The person, you, delivering a webinar, the thing in their mind is this. How can I sell to them to get rich? That is their focus. Option number 2 is that their apple sounds like this instead. How can I make them rich? You see the difference? How can I teach you as much as humanly possible in 1 hour to make you rich? Richer. How can I give you techniques, Magnus Larsson, that I know will help you to earn more money in your next webinar? How can I do that in 1 hour? Is there a difference between these two personalities? Do they sound different? Do they act differently? Do they use different words? Absolutely. If your focus is moving other people, you will be perceived as more genuine. You will be playing the long game, which means that people will come back to you because what you taught them actually worked. I'm not saying it's bad to have your own apple focusing on becoming rich yourself, but when delivering a presentation or a keynote or a webinar like this, please focus on the other person. Mark, I don't want to be rich. That's it, right? What is rich? For some people, being rich is just having the ability to live in the countryside, because that is being rich. Being part of nature, right? For some, it's living in New York, in a penthouse. Our definition of rich is so different. It doesn't even have to be a monetary value. Rich on life. So please, the next time you deliver a webinar, try out the two, like if you've always been focusing on how can I get as many bookings, how can I sell as much as possible, just try shifting that to how can I make them grow as much as possible? How can I give them as much as possible? And just look at the two recordings and you will see two different versions of yourself when doing that. I am now leaving dopamine and I'm just summarizing it like this. Dopamine literally puts you into the state of give me more, give me more, give me more knowledge. I can see the way you look at me. I can see the way you make notes that your dopamine is high because your brain is literally going, what's the next thing David is going to say? Will that also be valuable to me, right? That is dopamine acting in your brain, which means I'm creating it in you, but you're creating it based on your story simulations. Ooh, biochemistry is interesting, isn't it? Yes? Yes, is it? Is biochemistry interesting? Nods away. Thank you. Love it. We are going to move into noradrenaline. Oh, sweet. So noradrenaline is synthesized from dopamine. So first dopamine needs to exist in order for noradrenaline to be synthesized. So they work together to a great extent. But You can have high levels, you can like, in certain ADHD diagnosis, you can have high levels of dopamine, but low levels of noradrenaline, right? So what is noradrenaline? Noradrenaline is 5 letters, F-O-C-U-S, focus. Noradrenaline drives focus. So with ADHD, you can have high levels of dopamine, you're super motivated to do frickin' everything, but you can't focus. So you medicate to increase focus so you can use your dopamine. So how often do we need to create focus in people? According to Microsoft, this was the most recent large study, so we're moving out of PubMed now. It's still a large study done by Microsoft. Give it a guess in the chat. Give it a guess in the chat. How often do we need a change in focus? 8 seconds, 3 seconds, 20, 30, 7, 4. You are very good at this. The answer is 8 seconds. This was pre-COVID, so it's probably shorter because we used screens to such an extent during COVID that it probably went down. So 8 seconds. That means that if you look at a video on social media and nothing new has happened with 8 seconds, you will scroll. I think you agree with me that that can be even shorter, right? Can it? Can it be even shorter? Can you see like a video, boring, 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 boring? That can be you. When you're posting your ad, if the ad is boring, if it doesn't hook people, create focus within seconds, boom, you're gone. You become a swipe. So it's driven by focus. I'm going to show you something absolutely incredible, and that is the JP Spice Rack. This took me years to create. It's 136 different ways to grab focus. How about that? 136 ways to grab focus. What does it look like? It looks like this. That's 136 ways of creating focus. If you start implementing this in your webinars, you will get so much more attention. Just as I am going back and forth with you, asking questions, asking you to write in the chat, creating interactions, creating stories. Let me do this. If you find 15 different spices I've been using so far, together, you'll get that slide. If you don't, you won't get it. Write in the chat, which variations have I been using? Which spices have I been using to hold your attention high? Write it down, and we'll see if we can catch it. Questions, hands, gallop, pauses. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Snap fingers, 7. Task 7, 8. Questions, a lot of questions. Interaction 9. Snaps again, screen 10. That's 11. You did it! That was too easy. That was too easy. I should have gone for more. Damn it! I gave it away too easy. Sorry, Lucas. All right, so it's yours. This will be sent to you after the... Is that cool, Lucas? Can we send it after? Yes, okay. We can send it after. I wasn't intending to sending this out, so I needed to check. It's yours, and I want to challenge you to this. The next webinar you do, look at it, add 5 more spices in your next webinar. 5 more. 5 you haven't used. Can we do this? Can we agree on this? Can we agree on this? 5 more spices. It's going to make it heck more entertaining for you and a heck more entertaining for the person listening. Okay, serotonin. Second from last. Serotonin has the opportunity of bringing these behaviors out in human beings. So for instance, when I gave Bruno the compliment about his beard, his serotonin levels most likely went up because he was given a compliment in a social situation, right? And that is connected with pride. Does that make sense, Bruno? Are you okay? Did you feel a sense of that? Okay. So serotonin is such a big part of any cocktail because it means that a person is being seen. It means that a person is being valued. That is so important to me. That is why I can't use all of your names because, you know, you're plus 1,000 in all these collected streams, but I can pick you out, like Wolfram Gronet. I've seen you laughing, man, and your laugh is just the best laugh. It gives me energy every single time you laugh. And Christian Lykke Rasmussen, the way you are absolutely leaning in on the camera and you're nodding affirmatively to most things that I say, just gives me so much energy. Craig Muirhead, love your energy and the way that you have attention as well. All of these create serotonin in the person looking. But when it comes to your webinars, it's important for you to interact with people like I'm doing, to lift them up in the way that I'm doing. Not only that, but you can borrow social proof from others. So have a look at this on full screen. So 3 absolute giants within webinars and funneling are these 3 guys. So this person, Dan, I met him in London just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. He's one of the few people who've sold for $1 million from stage. Imagine that. You sell your product for 1 million. He is absolutely outstanding. And we had such a good relationship. I absolutely advise you to connect with him on social media, follow him. He has brilliant advice. He's one of those that you can listen to on social media. So please have a look at him. We then have Rhonda Swan. She is the right thing as well. Please follow her, learn from her, absolutely stellar. And then we have Mr. Hermosi, one of the most successful guys in the business. Again, listen to him, follow him. These 3 I recommend on social media. I've checked them out, they are real. Okay? So the final thing I want to say about serotonin, which may come as a shock to you, and I want to do a raise of hand, and that is, how many uses your webcam when doing your webinar? Can I see a raise of hands on how many uses a webcam when doing a webinar? Okay. So that's about half of you. That's literally 500 people. Stop doing that immediately. Like the next one you do, remove it, replace it, get a freaking microphone. Why? Because listen to this. So the study came out of France during COVID. They recorded the same person, listen very attentively, they recorded the same person with 3 different microphones. Then they asked people to evaluate the person's personality. This is scary. It wasn't consistent. No. The worse the microphone quality was, the less they trusted the person. The better the quality was, the more they trusted the person. Don't let your microphone quality We've come to the very last substance. And the way this is going to work now, I'm going to take you through testosterone. We can't do any more. There's 10 substances, but this is just a 1-hour webinar. But I'm going to move you through testosterone. I think that's important. And when we've done that, I'm going to introduce the Presenter Mastery program to you. If you want to learn more from me, what is it about? We only bring in 20 people each month, so there's way too many here. But if you're interested in learning more from me, I'll go through the Presenter Mastery program so that you can know how to learn more from me and my team. And then we're going to do a Q&A. The Q&A will happen after the full hour. So this webinar is 1 hour, but the Q&A will be after. So any and all questions, I will stay here. My colleague Alexander, who was with me in the beginning, will come in, and he will sit with me, and we will answer your questions on webinars specifically. Okay? Testosterone. Let's move into testosterone. You don't need to spend lots of money, just get a mic that stays close to your mouth level and even cable. Yes, Lisa, that is true. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Literally, just spend 100 euros and you're going to have a 20 times better microphone than your webcam. So it's not a lot of money. That's not what it's about. Okay, go back to testosterone. Testosterone, oh my God. This one is freaking key. Do not miss out on this. This is such a key for you and for the people listening to you. testosterone is where we get into the mindset of bravery and growth, right? A person with increased levels of testosterone is more confident. It has been shown that people who, so you have two football teams. The fans of the football team who loses, they get a reduction of 25% of testosterone. A reduction of 25 when the team loses. The team winning, the fans of it can get an increase of 25% of testosterone. I'm asking you this, can you stand outside of the arena and see on the body language of the person walking out of the arena who won and who lost? Can you see that? Testosterone impacts us, our voice, our speech, our words, our movement. So when you're doing a webinar, my friend, you cannot come in with low levels of testosterone. Your levels need to be high. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer that in the chat. What are you good at? Please write that down in the chat. I want to know what you're good at. Right? What are you good at? What's one thing that you're good at? Please write it down in the chat. Singing, coaching, storytelling, speaking, singing, teaching, playing bass guitar, listening, taking notes. Good one there. Using a Dremel. We could use that at the manor now and then. Cricket, being a parent. These are beautiful videos. Now, in a sense, it showed that this was the only thing needed to increase testosterone levels a bit. Isn't that pretty cool? Before doing your webinar, before doing any kind of exercise that is important to you, repeat what you're good at. But I think a lot of you, before doing presentations and webinar, you're doubting yourself. Could this be correct? You doubt yourself when doing presentations. You're anxious, you're nervous. A lot of you are that. That makes you reduce your testosterone instead. So just do this little skill. Instead of focusing on your doubt, focusing on what you're good at before, right? I am going to show you 3 video clips now, which has shown to increase testosterone in the people that look at them. Not these specifically, but we know that video clips can increase testosterone. We're going to start with 2 football games. And the more you like this team, the more the more you enjoy football, the more testosterone you will get. So if you love England, and if you enjoy David Beckham, not just the way he looks, because he looks amazing, he's actually inspired me to buy this one. You know, he's quite an influence in my life. I don't know him personally. I'd love to though. Anyhow, I was in the pub in England when they scored this goal, and it was insane. It was the defining goal. The entire pub just went ballistics. So have a look at this and see what you feel.
Everybody, part of the Greek support is playing for a goal. Second to take. The 93rd minute at Old Trafford. Beckham! He's done it! David Beckham! Fantastic! It's 2-2!
Okay, so check in with you. How many got goosebumps? All right, so we are looking at about 40% of you getting instantaneous goosebumps because you increased your levels of testosterone. That is how easy biochemistry is in this case. Let's have a look at the one. I think this one is Messi, yes. The next one is Messi. Do you enjoy Messi? This is one of his first and amazing goals.
Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
That is what made him into a superstar. Did you know that have you ever felt that you've gone to the movies, you watched James Bond? Do you know that it's more interesting to stay outside of the movies and look at the people coming out of the movie trying to figure out which movie they watched? Differently, like if you recorded them before than after, you can see the people after going, fucking, I own this place, you know. And in their head, they're going like, how can I be more like Bond? How can I move more like Bond? How can I dress more like Bond? Hey, people even go off and buy an Omega Seamaster for 15,000 euros because they saw Bond wearing it. Like, how stupid are humans, really? I'm sorry for insulting everyone with an Omega, but stories drive our most expensive purchases. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek on James Bond. I see there's some kids here, so I'm just going to say there may be some blood in this small clip from a James Bond movie. So if that's not okay with you, just look away. but otherwise it's just a regular James Bond movie. So just have a look at a quick scene from that as well.
Do you exercise?
When I have to.
Do you consider your employment to be psychologically stressful?
Sometimes.
How much alcohol do you consume?
Too much.
What is your occupation?
Well, that's not the sort of thing that looks good on a form.
And why is that?
I kill people.
Who doesn't appreciate the occasional twist, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. Or is that Bond? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
Where the hell have you been?
Enjoying death. 007 reporting for duty.
My tip to you on testosterone is this. Go onto YouTube, create a playlist with videos that create testosterone in you. And whenever you need it, look at them. Because I want you to decide how you feel before your webinar. If you don't decide that, random chances of the quality of the people coming in will decide it for you. Don't let that happen. Control your state, right? When it comes to your webinar itself, see to that people feel like they are victorious. Make them feel like they're in control. Create a webinar where you give not just a perception, but you give them exercises, you give them skills, you give them things where they feel growth. If you leave them after the webinar, if you leave them confused, or if you leave them undesirable, there will be no testosterone. When you leave my webinar today, I want you to walk away from it with a smile, with energy, knowing that what David said will have an impact. How about that? Does that make a difference? Makes the entire difference.